Tell me about the time you once saw a UFO.
Well, I was a district governor of 56 Lions clubs in southwest Georgia, and I had to visit all the Lions clubs and make a speech. And I was outside a school lunchroom one night, right before sundown. It was getting dark, and we were getting ready to eat supper. And I and about 25 men were standing around, and all of a sudden, in the western sky, we saw a strange light coming toward us, a round light, and it got closer and closer, and right above the pine trees, it stopped. And then it began to change colors from blue to red to white. And then it stayed there for a while. We were all aghast. We didn't know what it was. And then it just disappeared into the west. That was the end of it. So it was a genuine UFO in that it was an unidentified flying object, but I have never thought and still don't think that it's possible for, creatures from Mars to come here and visit us and go back home.
Before we have Jim McGahey respond to the story of that Japanese pilot and what he saw from his Japan air cargo jet, Sergeant Peniston wants to respond to something that James said.
Thank you, Larry. It's just, I respect James for his opinion on that, but if I was in his position right now, looking at us and looking at this story, I'd probably have a lot of doubt about it too. But this is not about lights in the sky. This is about an object that has landed in the woods and was investigated by a team of experts that are familiar with aircraft identification and that. And there's just no way in the world that this could be anything other than it was a physical craft.
All right, Jim, he's saying he touched the object. He surrounded the object, and the object took off and went into space. That's either a madman.
Well, there's no evidence of that. I've never seen any evidence.
So then you say he's lying.
His report. No, I'm saying he may truly believe that he touched an aircraft.
That also
something
flew.
Something called cofabulation. But the question is there any evidence other than his anecdotal story, his report, that anything occurred? And there isn't. There simply is no evidence. I would like to respond to something about Colonel Halt talking about the idea that the Air Force never contacted him or investigated him, this incident. Since the closing of Blue Book in 1969, it has been official United States Air Force policy not to take a UFO report, pro, con, negative, or any otherwise. It
Why?
actually is... Well, because it caused a great deal of bad publicity for the United States Air Force, and they didn't want to be involved with it. So the official policy is if someone calls up the Air Force about a UFO, they simply say, they refer the people to local law enforcement agencies without comment.
There's another area I want to cover, and we've got John Callahan been standing by, but you want to say something quickly?
Let's say one thing. Are you aware that the OSI did investigate this?
I am aware that the OSI investigated it. Of course, the OSI, of course, looks into anything very often that security police do, and I don't want to get into why that is.
What do you think, Jim, of the story of that Japan air cargo that saw the twin cylinders flying in formation?
Well, you have to look at what happened that night. He reported seeing initially a light following him. It's interesting that the direction he was looking was directly at Jupiter, which happened to be at its brightest that night. But all the radar targets that were reported that night, the FAA itself in its report says was transponder clutter and scatter, and the Air Force as well. But what's interesting is two airplanes that night, a United Airlines aircraft and a C-130 that were in the area, were asked to be vectored slightly off their courses so they could view the aircraft that night, and both of them flew near the aircraft that night and didn't see any target, any aircraft around the 747.
Let John Callahan respond. John?
Well, if you looked at the videotape that we took, you could see that there's a target. Every time the Japanese pilot said there was target at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, that we had a primary hit there. Our own...
Well, the FAA doesn't agree with that, sir.
Well, that's... the FAA doesn't want to control UFOs. Just because they say it's not there, you got to remember now, if you were flying today and you looked out the window as a pilot and you said, hey, who's at my altitude, the first thing the control would think of is I got two together, and then he would say, can you tell me what kind of airplane it is? And you would say, yes, it looks like an F-105. And they would say, if you got some numbers you can give me off it, and we'll track that guy down and we'll fix him for good for being up there. And you would say, yeah, here's his tail number. Now, we can't do that with a UFO. When the pilot looked out there and he says, I have traffic out here, apparently the 3 Japanese pilots are also lying. It's funny that everybody that's involved...
I got to get a break, guys, but you're making a good point. We'll come back with our remaining moments. Just skim the surface. Don't go away. I want to get in a quick call, but James, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I just want to say that I thought James McGaha made a very interesting point when he said that they saw the planet, I think Saturn, was it Saturn? Jupiter, and that the CIA considers Jupiter classified. And that I guess the FAA official was told never to talk about the planet Jupiter, so that's interesting.
Let's get a call. Los Angeles, hello.
Hello, good evening, Larry. How you guys doing tonight?
Fine, quickly, go ahead.
What was the most recent sighting in the United States, and where was it, and who saw it?
Do we know, Fife?
O'Hare. It was O'Hare, United Airlines O'Hare, right over the airport. Yeah. There's a lot of press about it. Yeah. United Airlines pilots, crew, maintenance people on the ground.
I actually talked to a couple of the United Airlines personnel, and privately they admitted what they saw was a disc-shaped object, broad daylight, punched a hole through the clouds when it left. But they would not go on the record because they were debriefed by United Airlines, and the United Airlines said they would lose their job.
I remember it was headlines in the national news when it occurred.
James, they would have no point in lying, would they?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, why would the military officers, why would they lie?
Oh, I don't question that military officers are lying. I just doubt whether they're accurately seeing and reporting what they're seeing. And there are many. It's very easy to be fooled.
Yeah. All right, we've run out of time, but I thank you all very much. By the way, dial up our website, cnn.com/Larry King. You can download our current podcast, Dog the Bounty Hunter, and we've got an extraterrestrial quick vote.